Welcome to Soccer in 60, presented by the Empire Strykers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60.
Buckle up indeed, and welcome to Soccer in 60. This is the fastest paced soccer show in SoCal. Don't forget, Soccer in 60 is brought to you by SAC Health System. We are covering all the week's news, highlights, and more from LAFC, the Galaxy, Angel City, Orange County Soccer Club, and of course, the Major Arena Soccer League's very own Empire Strykers. Good evening and welcome. I am your host, the Scarf, J.R. Liebert, and I've got two of the classiest gentlemen in Southern California soccer on here with me. One half of the Lacuna Galaxiana podcast. I give you Ananda Karana. Ananda, welcome back to Soccer in 60.
Hey guys, good to be back. I can't believe it's March already. So guys, let's talk about all the madness that's going on.
Can't wait. Just 16 shopping days till my birthday if you're planning it out there. And Timmy K, what do you say? Orange County Soccer Club superfan and soccer aficionado Tim Kolatz.
Hey, how are you, boys? Man, if you guys could only read the chats off to the side, you'd be laughing along with me. Great to be with you, Scarf Ananda. Oh, man, I love this show.
Listen, this is why they call it the fastest paced soccer show in SoCal. LAFC and the Galaxy now in the midst of the CONCACAF Champions Cup chase, as well as the MLS regular season. Also, getting set to kick off their season for the first time, of course, will be Orange County Soccer Club. It's going to be this weekend, and getting closer is Angel City Football Club. But in the midst of a playoff push, trying to get their standing secured, that would be the MASL's Empire Strykers. So it is so cool in Southern California. So much soccer to talk about. I can't wait. But before we do that, let's check in with our good friends over at Omnitrans. In partnership with the Empire Strykers, experience the thrill of game day with Omnitrans. Be in the heart of the action at Toyota Arena and let Omnitrans take care of the ride. Simply download the Transit app to catch your bus and enjoy a stress-free trip to cheer on the Strykers. Don't miss out on the excitement and make every moment count at Toyota Arena. Ride with Omnitrans to your next Empire Strykers match. And by the way, depending on how you're listening to this, this may lead right into the next Empire Strykers match. More on that in just a minute. But now we do have Ananda Karana here, one half of the Lacuna Galaxiana podcast, and of course, Timmy K. So let's get into some Galaxy news first and foremost. Ananda, finally, Galaxy looking the part. At home, they absolutely boat race Charlotte FC 3-0, dominant in every way, shape, and form. You name a stat, you name a metric, and it likely fell Galaxy's way, and often by a lot. Ananda, first, let me get your overall take on the way that the Galaxy looked in this match.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head there, Scarf. It was a completely dominant performance from minute 0 really to minute 90. 3-0, yet another clean sheet for Greg Vanney's team this year. I think that's something Galaxy fans are really talking about right now, and it's a welcome sight for Galaxy fans. But that first 3-goal in 13-minute blitz, that's the fastest in Galaxy history. I mean, that it was one of those offensive eruptions that I think everyone was waiting for. There was a lot of question marks coming out, especially out of those two legs against San Miguelito. Is this Galaxy team, do they have the firepower? Does Greg have the offense, or can he get that going? Well, I'll tell you what, guys, the Galaxy sure answered that in this game.
Yeah, let's talk about the offense. You mentioned it. 3 goals in, you almost shortchanged them there, right? 12 minutes and 14 seconds, I believe, was the actual time elapsed.
I'll take it. I'm rounding up.
Absolutely. 6th fastest 3 goals in MLS history. You mentioned it, fastest in Galaxy history. Edwin Cerrillo, we got to talk about him. Look, he's a little up, a little down some matches. You're still kind of wondering what you're going to get from him from time to time. But that long ball over the top to Mickey Yamane that really kicked off the scoring and changed the entire match. Talk about the good Edwin Cerrillo and what the Galaxy are capable of when he's at his best.
Yeah, I think he's a really important piece, especially for this midfield, especially as we think about the build-up, Scarf. He's one of those guys that, to me, he's the best midfielder on the half turn. He's really neat and tidy with the ball, really technically sound. And once he picks his head up and the wingers are running for him, he hits them on a dime. He has a beautiful long ball, but we've got to see that more often. And in fact, we've got to see that more often in general from all the midfielders that are playing in Greg's system. Especially against the two legs against San Miguelito, it was a lot of sideways and backwards and labored and slow. But once you increase the tempo and we play in semi-transition, the Galaxy look really dangerous. Look, I've argued, I think, multiple times on the show that in 2024, this Galaxy team looks most dangerous in transition and semi-transition. So the quicker that we hit those attackers with guys like Edwin Cerillo looking up and passing forward, I think the better overall this team will be.
Yeah, and Timmy, one thing we never have to worry about being slow in transition is Gabriel Peck on that right-hand side. He continues to be must-see TV, not just for the Galaxy, but if you're a casual, if you're an MLS fan, if you just want to watch a great player, the Brazilian Gabriel Peck is pure class. Timmy, what we saw from him, at least in the first half especially, is just pressure, moving forward, making the right passes, taking on defenders. Timmy K, Gabriel Peck looking as good as ever right now.
Yeah, it looks like the guy's in midseason form because I think everybody in this team really knew that they had to come out because the place would have been on fire on Twitter, in the stands, if they didn't come out and make a couple of very strong plays very early. Ananda touched on it. The San Miguelito. Hey, you know what? That's why they're the coaches, and we're talking about them, right? Because they know what they're doing. But to have 4 goals in the first 2 games. This is huge, and like you said, 3 goals in the first 13 minutes, 12 minutes, 14 seconds. And then the biggest stat that I took away from this was 12 shots on frame. So they were making the goalkeeper work on this to have to come away with 9 saves off of 12 shots. These are the things that the Galaxy's fans were desperate to see, and they got to see it in this game.
Yeah, fortunately for Charlotte, they've got one of the best keepers in MLS in Christian Colino. Otherwise, it could have been a lot worse. Let me talk to you, Ananda, too, about a brace from Joao Klaus. Now, one, he had to do the work for. The other, the work was done for him. But tell me about what it looks like seeing Peck running down on one side with the ball in transition, knowing you've got Paintsel, who can absolutely run anywhere you need him to on the pitch as quickly as possible on the other wing. And now you've got a guy filling it up in the middle, Joao Klaus making that perfect run, Peck making that perfect pass. What it's like with these Brazilians leading the way right now.
Yeah, I think I'm going to start with Klaus in particular, Scarf, because he's really changed the look and the dynamic of that front three. One of the things that we missed with Dejan Jovic leaving the team was just a guy to be at the right position at the right time. Doesn't need to do anything flashy. He just needs to understand and read the spaces that he needs to be in and be technically good enough and have the composure to finish in the final third when he gets in that box. And that is Joao Klaus. And you saw the best of him in those 2 goals. The first goal was being in the right place at the right time. Not the easiest finish. I mean, I've seen a lot of guys like miss those on a dime, but cool, calm, and compose. And speaking of cool, calm, and compose, again, 1v1 against the keeper on that second one. He does all the work, but slots it home far post there across the keeper. So against a good keeper, I mean, Kalina's made 19 saves, guys, in the first 2 games. Unbelievable stuff from him. But yeah, Klaus really changes the dynamic of that attack.
Yeah, we've got a couple of matches to look ahead to. They face Colorado in Commerce City, Colorado, Saturday, March 7th, and then the big tie at home against Mount Pleasant, the Jamaican side in CONCACAF Champions Cup. I do want to mention one quick thing before we look ahead. Marco Royce coming on in a 3-0 match in the 66th minute. Does Greg Vanney even need to bring him on there? Why is Marco Royce even playing in this one?
That's a good question. We didn't get a chance to talk to Greg about Marco, but look, he's played a lot of minutes already in the beginning of the year. So I think it was just a matter of, let me get a different look in the midfield. Let me see what Elijah can do. By the way, Elijah Winder had a fantastic game as well. Brings a different kind of dynamic to that midfield. And I think he's just saving Marco Royce for bigger games ahead.
All right, so let's look ahead. Speaking of which, we talked about it. Saturday, March 7th, Wednesday, March 11th is, by the way, just 2 of the 5 matches in 16 days that the Galaxy are set to play. What do you expect, Ananda, from the 11 in Colorado versus what we might see in in Carson when you take on the Jamaican side for the CONCACAF Champions Cup?
Yeah, this is another test that we talked about in the beginning of the year of Greg trying to rotate and balance the squad in the right way. Look, one of the things that we have to deal with in Colorado always is the altitude, right? And that place has never been really kind for the Galaxy. So might he go for a little bit of a youthful lineup, chuck in guys like Mauricio Cuevas, some of the guys that you've seen in CCC. So it'll be interesting. And, again, we talked about Marco Royce sitting for this game. Perhaps that's a cue. Stage right going, for Marco Royce there, being that number 10. So it'll be interesting. I expect Greg to make a few changes, and I think he'll go for the youth because, again, we've talked about it, guys. Long season, the young guys need to play.
All right. And then one last quick one, Ananda. You're playing the Jamaican side, Mount Pleasant Football Academy. They are not highly ranked in CONCACAF in the standings, but honestly, neither was Sporting San Miguelito. So my question for you is, how do you prevent a second version of that Sporting San Miguelito two-legged tie where you got in, but by the skin of your teeth to the next round?
Yeah, honestly, you know what? If I look back at that Sporting San Miguelito tie, it was really about how they played us. They didn't really play to attack, Scarf. They set up in a 5-4-1 low block.
Yeah.
One of our friends of the show, Sophie Nicolau, said they didn't park the bus, they parked the spaceship. So if you're playing against a team like that, it's about just being patient and not exposing yourself too much and staying in the game, which is what Galaxy did. And I fully expect Mount Pleasant to use that same playbook and play the exact same way because they've seen it work to some effectiveness, right? To at least get a scoreline, especially away from home. So I'm going to expect that same type of game. It's up to the Galaxy to be patient enough, not get too exposed, and score the goals in the right moments.
Yeah, and look, the bottom line is this, right? You talked about March Madness. Timmy K touched on it as well. It's survive and advance, right? No one cares how you get to the next round. Just get to the next round. We want to remind everybody we have a fantastic interview with LAFC head coach Marc Dos Santos coming up in just a little bit. But before we do that, we want to say hi and bring somebody on that, of course, is a huge friend of the show, the voice of the Empire Strykers, but we're going to bring him on to talk a little LAFC as well with us. Now we've got a full 4 Mount Rushmore, one Christian Philly Philemon. Philly, welcome back to Soccer in 60.
I'm surprised. I thought I was only on for the Strikers segment. I've been bamboozled to get more minutes on the show. And yes, I know what you're thinking. That Philly, gosh, does he know how to dress in his designer threads. And if you head to the EmpireStrikers.com, Strikers with a Y, you too can have this Empire Strikers Capelli shirt. Anyway,
yeah, look, Marc Dos Santos is going to talk a lot about LAFC, but let's throw it to you, Philly, to talk about LAFC defeating the Dynamo in Houston 2-0. I want to talk to you first, Philly, about 2 red cards, both drawn on fouls to Son Heung-min, bringing them down obviously to 11v9 for the last 13 or so minutes of the match. What did you think about the first red card, which is like a little stomp on the back of the Achilles right in front of the ref, and then the second one, the easy red card? What did you think about Sonny being able to draw 2 straight reds in that match?
Well, first and foremost, I do want to focus on the fact that Houston has been a house of horrors for LAFC on the road. LAFC has not been very successful in Houston coming into that game. 1 win, 4 losses, and 3 draws. So I just want to throw that out there. This is a different Houston Dynamo team than we've seen in previous years, and Marc Dos Santos will allude to that on the interview that I had with him. But as far as the straight reds are concerned, one can argue that may have been soft, and I guess it depends on whether or not you were coming fresh off of watching a hockey game like I was, and then I would absolutely said that was soft. But the powers that be indicated that they weren't soft. And so you kind of roll with the punches. That's a very politically correct answer to state, but just to not come off as a homer, even though I very well am, very soft red card, no question about it.
Yeah, Timmy K, let me ask you about Hugo Lloris. Hugo Lloris now 3 clean sheets in 4 matches. He's 39 years old. For LAFC, they haven't asked him to do a whole lot yet, Timmy K, but what they've asked him to do, he's done well. Your thoughts on Hugo in goal and how good he's been to start the season?
Well, I think he's been great to start the season, and while he has not had to make 19 saves like the guy coming out of, on the other game that we talked about with the Galaxy. But the reality is he makes the save of the game off that header deep in the box, and he comes out, plays it perfectly, and he gets the right save. So while he may not be that busy, the times that he does need to make that save, he is making them for LAFC.
Yeah, and Ananda, the big thing in the midfield for LAFC has been the world-class Canadian Stephen Eustáquio. Eustáquio scores in this one against Houston. And just your thoughts on having a player that's that world-class in the midfield now for LAFC.
Yeah, he's really fit in like a glove, right? He's looked really good in that midfield next to Tillman and Delgado. Again, you needed a guy in there that had some legs that, that creates enough chances for the front two. And just his youthful exuberance, his energy, his technical ability. Carr's talked about it a lot on this show. He's going to be a revelation for this team. And so far, so good. He's fit in like an absolute glove. That's got to bode well for LAFC this season.
Yeah, Saturday, March 7th at BMO against Dallas. And then Tuesday, March 10th, Alajuelense comes to BMO Stadium. First leg of the round of 16 CONCACAF Champions Cup. We want to say a big thank you to Ananda Karana for coming back on Soccer in 60 with us yet again. Thank you so much, Ananda. All right, there goes Ananda. Doesn't even get a chance to say goodbye, but that's all right.
That's harsh. You hit the extra without him saying bye. Jeez. Rough crowd.
Ejectocito.
With that being said, we have a fantastic interview. Both Philly and our producer, Gunnar Burnt, were on the interview with LAFC head coach Marc Dos Santos. Let's bring it right to head coach Marc Dos Santos now.
Our guest is the head coach of the Los Angeles Football Club. A native of Montreal, he boasts an extensive background coaching in different leagues across North America, including as the former head coach of the Vancouver Whitecaps in MLS, as well as teams in the NASL and the USL top tier. After 4 seasons on the technical staff of LAFC, helping the club capture MLS Cup, Supporter Shield, and the US Open Cup, he took the reins ahead of the 2026 season. It's such an honor to have with us LAFC head coach Marc Dos Santos. Coach, thank you and welcome to Soccer in 60.
Thank you for having me, guys. It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, man.
Marc, let's just get right into it. You've worked extensively, not only as a head coach across different leagues in North America, but also in different roles with several teams in Brazil. For the past 4 seasons, you worked as an assistant at LAFC. Why don't you tell our listeners who need a reintroduction how you would describe your philosophy around the game, what has gone into that, and how you go about implementing it on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, it's a good question. First of all, I have to have a very clear understanding of the culture and the place where I am. You know, I think when you arrive in a club, any different club, it's hard for a coach to just go to a club with his ideology. You have clubs that have different type of players, different profiles, and you also have to have, I think, the humility as a coach to adapt to that. So at LAFC, my philosophy is very clear. I think we can dictate more. We could have moments where we could have more the ball, be aggressive in our counter pressure. But there's also something that is comfortable with this group of guys is their ability to be vertical and attack the space and behind. So it's something that I don't want to lose in this team. But I would describe myself with a word, and it's intensity. It's something that I like to see in myself in the day-to-day. Try to transmit it to the players, and I want to see it on the field. You know, I think it's contagious, and that's a word that would describe me.
We mentioned your background of working in Brazil. We should add that you're fluent in not 2, 3, but 4 languages. How helpful do you feel that's been for someone in your position?
Yeah, a lot of times I have young coaches in conferences that ask me, hey, what should I do? If you have one advice for me, what would it be? What would that advice be? And I always say, learn another language. You know, for coaching, locker rooms have become so multicultural, but not only in MLS, you see it in the Premier League. You see even in Serie A in Italy today, coaches having to speak a little bit of English, you know, and years ago, this wasn't the case. Soccer is a different sport when you compared with, let's say, the NFL. You don't sign a quarterback from a league in Italy, right? It's pretty much everything here in North America or in the US. Maybe a little bit of CFL in Canada, but it's pretty much one language, one culture. But in the world of soccer, no. So I think that when you speak other languages, it allows you to connect a little bit more with some players that only speak Spanish or only speak French or only speak Portuguese. You could connect a little bit closer. And at the same time, it allows you to have a very clear message where players don't have excuse that they didn't understand something.
Yeah, Coach, we've seen, speaking of players from other countries, right? You have a bunch of them on LAFC, and touching on just a couple of them here, we've seen some very early promising signs from David Martínez and Amin Boudry, a couple of your younger players. Can you talk to us a little bit about their potential, and then also how you balance developing young talent and keeping up-and-comers involved when you're always under pressure to win now and have so many established veterans who would expect to get most of the playing time?
Yeah, great question. You have to make sure that they develop with the right time. So one of the examples, David Martínez, he arrived there, I think 1 week after just turning 18 years old, if I'm not mistaken. And you cannot expect, and you have proof of that in the league, you guys cannot name me a lot of players that arrive in a league from outside with 18 years old and create right away an impact. They need to adapt. The cities and environments they come from is very different than our environment. They need to learn a little bit the language, connect a little bit with the players. And David slowly has developed an understanding of what we want to be about. And then it's up to me and the staff to put him in positions that he's comfortable with. One example is David wasn't very comfortable and staying open in a wing. You know, he's a player that likes to play more in inside pockets, and we're bringing him to play more in these inside pockets where he could show all of his tools. It's funny you mentioned Amin. It's a different situation because he arrived there already with 21 years old, already with some minutes, a lot of minutes in the first division of Sweden. But they have kind of the same characteristics. Two players that one is left-footed, the other one is right-footed, but two players that like to play inside those pockets, and but two players with incredible talent, and in the right time, I think they're going to start showing more and more what they could bring to the team.
Mark, one of our regular contributors, Canadian Hall of Famer Carl Lang Romero, has been raving about Stephen Eustáquio's impact since arriving at LAFC. I think during our conversation at the kit launch, you too obviously were raving about him. But if you don't mind, talk to us about what he's added tactically and otherwise, and how his presence changes what you guys are able to do on the field.
Yeah, first of all, it's a player that I knew very well. So as soon as the door opened of the possibility of loan, I think me and Stephen, we spoke like 3 minutes on the phone. And it was, let's make this happen. And he goes, yeah, let's go. I'm writing a book a little bit. So finally, I'm doing something that's going to be really cool for you guys to read one day. But these inside stories, I'm going to share a lot about them.
Cool.
And our talk was really cool, really fast, like two guys on the same page. Let's make this happen. And the truth is that when you know a player's qualities culturally, leadership, winning mentality, he was coming from a club in Porto, they just speak about winning. A draw is panic mode. So I already knew the winning mentality. I already knew what even Jesse Marsch thought about him with the Canadian national team. I coach his brother, Marc Dos Santos, that now he's a head coach in the Canadian Premier League. I knew his family, where he comes from, his mentality, how he is in training. So I knew it would be a fit from the get-go. So it was an easy integration, not only for our guys to receive him, but also for him understanding how we want to play in his role in the team.
Yeah, he's looked really good. I think it's a no-brainer in the sense that most LAFC supporters would like to see that loan extend a little bit longer, but obviously that's up to y'all there.
A little bit out of my control, but what do you think we want? So let's see where it goes.
One of the key veterans that you had who, we haven't seen, and we haven't seen him since last season, was Aaron Long, out with a long-term injury. We figure he might be getting close to making his return. But in the meantime, though, defense has been solid. Ryan Porteous and Kosi Tafara have built quite the relationship at that center back role. When Aaron does return, how do you plan to reintegrate and use him, given his massive profile as a U.S. international?
I agree with you that the jump of Kosi Tafari has been very good. He went from, I felt in the beginning of last year, he struggled understanding spaces, defending in a back four. So he was able to progress a lot in a back three. And now he plays in a system where there's a little bit of both. So we're in a back three when we attack, and when we're in a back four when we defend. So he's understanding more about spacing, understanding more how he has to shift. And when Aaron Long comes back, first of all, it's going really well, his recovery. Hopefully we'll be seeing him training with the team fully, at least I think by the end of the month, if everything goes well. But then it's going to be a reintegration slowly. You're talking about a player that has to reintegrating from an injury that was almost 1 year long. And then let me deal with the problem of too many good players. Let me deal with that. I want to deal with that than dealing with too many bad players. And then I'm always knocking at Neil's door and John, hey, we need to be better, So look, we're in a lot of competitions. I was very clear that being LAFC is we want to be in every competition to compete and to win. And for that, you're going to need everyone. So for me to tell you what's going to happen when Long is at 100%, I don't know. Let's see. And let's see when he gets to 100%. This is not Championship Manager that when a guy's good to train or to play, you put him in and he plays. It's almost 1 year injury. It takes time to be reintegrated.
It's the nice thing about being at LAFC, caviar problems as opposed to, I guess, Star-Kissed tuna fish can problems. It's
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah, Coach, let's jump into the here and now. You guys, you're coming off a hard-fought 2-0 win against a stingy Houston Dynamo. The Dynamo team being hampered by 2 red cards in that game. In the end, you guys score on 2 shots from outside the box. Max Bretos said on his call after the final whistle that, quote, it wasn't one for the time capsule. But what was your assessment, and how happy were you with your team's performance?
Well, I don't agree that much with Max, in the sense that if you look back, sometimes people take winning for granted in such an easy way. Like us that were here every day grinding to prepare the team, it was a place we didn't win since 2019. So not easy to win there. You're going to see a lot of teams struggle there because Houston is a much better team than last year. Until the first red card, we were the best team. We created the most dangerous chances. So I think that at the end, we kept in our match plan. We kept pushing. It's a game that ended 2-0. Could have ended 3-4-5 maybe. And at the end, Houston made it hard on defending with so many players in front of the 18-yard box. And for our guys to find other solutions with shots from outside the box, not depending only in our normal players to score, I think it's pretty important win. And again, Houston playing one game, having a full week rest, us playing game after game, traveling to Honduras, traveling to Houston, and we went there and stayed very professional, stayed in our game. The 2 red cards were red cards. So I'm really proud of what the guys did. We made the game easy.
Mm-hmm. You touched on travel, transitions us perfectly. You have a pair of games coming up, one against Dallas here in MLS, 2 home games actually, and then midweek against Costa Rica's Alajuela in the Champions Cup. What have you seen from? I'm going to lump them together a little bit. What have you seen from those two sides, and what do you feel will be key in these two matches? And do you plan on rotating, or is that something you decide as you go, depending on score lines, final scores, that type of thing?
Yeah, look, it's a good point. First of all, I'm not thinking about St. Louis or the second leg. When you look at the macro of what we have 5 games in 15 days. But we have to bring the macro and then go micro situation. That's what we do as a staff. Our first focus is the next 2 games. Dallas home, where we want to keep getting points in the league, because it's not easy to accumulate points when you're in 2 competitions. And the first leg against Alajuelense. This is our micro view of right now where we're focusing on. And with that, what we're doing is we want to have our best team possible to get the best 2 results from the start. After the first leg, we'll evaluate things and we'll say, okay, our next micro situation, what is it? St. Louis and second leg in Alajuelense. And that's the same we did with our first 4 matches. We looked at the macro, we brought micro situations in, and we focused like that, and we'll keep doing that. Could it be that the game is in a place against Dallas where we say, okay, we could start making early subs, or maybe not? Could it be that the first leg against Alajuelense allows us to start making early subs? Yeah, we really have to go game by game and plan like that, because we don't know what the first leg is going to look like. And will we need to go all in the second leg? I was very confident in the game in Honduras based on what we did in the preseason, but to say that we would be up like that after 25 minutes, no. And then your plans started to change. You start saying, man, we could go for it against Miami because we could rotate and go for it against Houston again, So that's why you have to look at it in a micro way.
Marc, just one more question, non-LAFC related. We can't let you go without asking you about your brother, Philip, who just got hired as the head coach of Detroit City FC in the
Assistant coach.
Championship.
Assistant
coach. My apologies. You're right.
Yeah.
First of all, congratulations to him and the Dos Santos family. Talk to us about your brother. Like, do you guys nerd out about tactics together? Do you call each other to get input before or after a game? Like, what does that relationship look like?
My dad was a coach. So when me and Phil, we have a difference of 1.5 years. And both of us, we would go to training with my dad, being little kids and running after balls. We were kind of helping the equipment manager. But my dad had the influence of the game on us, listening to the Porto game in his radio, trying to synchronize kind of the antenna in Montreal, bringing us to Italian cafes to watch Serie A. And that's where we grew up and developed the passion for the game. And then we both went in our own ways in our careers. And I'm happy for him. He's working with Danny Dicchio in Detroit. He loves it. He's a loyal guy. He's a loyal guy to work with. He's very passionate about the game. So I'm really happy for him. He's an exciting club. People tell me that Detroit is kind of the Wrexham of the USL, like a passionate area. People love the game. So hopefully I have time in a break to go experience soccer in Detroit one day.
Yeah, Motor City certainly loves their football, no question about it. Marc, we don't want to take up any more of your time again. Thank you so much for the minutes you spent with us. Congratulations on the appointment as head coach at LAFC, and congratulations on the success this far. Good luck the rest of the year.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you so much, man. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Coach. Really appreciate it.
All right, fantastic interview. Philly, you were one half of that interview. Really cool to sit down with head coach Marc Dos Santos, yeah?
We got a Soccer in 60 exclusive because Marc Dos Santos hasn't gone on record anywhere saying that he's coming out with a book. So you heard it on this show for the first time, world premiere, MDS getting himself a book.
There you go. Let's check in with our friends over at National Core. National Core is one of the nation's largest nonprofit affordable housing developers and a proud sponsor of the team we're about to talk about right now, the Empire Strykers. At National Core, they believe that soccer has the power to transform lives just like they do. They believe in building strong communities on and off the field. And to learn more about National Core, head on over to nationalcore.org. And depending on how you're listening to this, we might be preempting the match against the San Diego Sockers Thursday, February 5th, 6:35 p.m. Available MASL Plus, MASL YouTube TV, Victory Plus, other outlets, and also being carried live in English on local PBS station KVCR and on the radio, Fox Sports 1270 AM. Philly, we got a lot to talk about, but first and foremost, a player that you go all the way back with, no longer, unfortunately, a member of the Empire Strykers. That would be goalkeeper Clayson DeLima, traded to Tacoma for financial considerations. Philly, you are there for his biggest moments in goal as the voice of the Empire Strykers, and you've watched almost his entire career out there in the Inland Empire. Let me give you a second to wax poetic on Clayson DeLima.
Yeah, it hadn't even dawned on me that was the case. But yeah, you were oh so true. For Clayson, the system that Obasi utilized is not a system that I believe truly helped him shine. Clayson is a goalkeeper. He's a shot stopper, a very good one at that. 2021 MASL Goalkeeper of the Year. And if we go back to that 2021 final when he got concussed in the final minutes, his omission is what led to San Diego pulling one over on Empire at Toyota Arena. I've seen the kid have some massive highs, and I've seen him have some massive lows. But in a system which the goalkeeper is a huge part of it, I'm not sure where he fit in. And it's not just Orozco, it's Brandon Gomez as well, who fits quite well with head coach Ono Obasi. But yes, Clayson DeLima will be missed without question. I loved Clayson. Classy individual, always has a smile on his face, worked extremely hard. And more importantly, he's going to be missed in the community as well because he had a bunch of soccer clinics that he ran, always up to do a philanthropic visit, whether it be at a school or a hospital. So he's going to be missed in the Inland Empire, both on and off the turf.
Yeah, he joined the Empire Strykers back when they were the Ontario Fury as a 19-year-old in 2017, literally grew up with the club. And I just want to give a quote here from Jeff Burham, managing owner of the Empire Strykers. For the past 3 seasons, we've been blessed to have a trio of very strong goalkeepers at our disposal, which has made playing time hard to come by at times for a player of Clayson's caliber. We hope he sees the field a lot with Tacoma and wish him nothing but the best going forward. So
the only thing I would say, just add to that, Scarf, I mean, with Birueta on Tacoma hurt, Danny Waltman obviously, going into his 40s, I think Clayson will feature quite nicely with that team and Adam Becker's bunch. And look, Tacoma's still very much in the playoff hunt, and he gets to be reunited with 2 of his buddies, Frank and Uzi Tayu.
If we had time, I was going to ask you about those 2, but we'll put that on the back burner for just a second. Our producer Gunnar estimating the age of Danny Waltman.
No, I'm 1 year older than Danny Waltman. I'm just going to throw that.
There you go. I think he's like 43, right? Is that
no,
right?
No, he's 1 year older than me.
So 78. All right.
If I can only flash my middle finger.
Timmy K, I want to talk to you real quick about some big news happening at Toyota Arena. Strykers hosting tryouts for a potential women's indoor team out there at Toyota Arena. Philly, I'll get your thoughts on it in just a second, but what would it mean, Timmy K, if this all works out and the Strykers are able to start an MASLW team for women's soccer in the Inland Empire?
Yeah, this would be great. They've been talking about it for a couple of years now, and to have this actually become truth and have tryouts for this, I think this is great for the women's game in general, because there are some women leagues out there throughout the country that are playing the indoor game, and to have it be at the highest level like this and to be able to play on a format like Toyota Arena, it would immediately, just like in the MASL as a whole, it would immediately put the women's game at Toyota Arena at a far different level than any other arena in the league that is potentially going to be created here.
Yeah, let's talk about it real quick. The Empire Strikers and San Diego Sockers are coming together to host the two legs on the MASL SoCal Women's Arena Cup. The first match is down in Oceanside, March 22nd. The second leg will be held at Toyota Arena on March 29th. The matches will bring together some of the best women's indoor talent in Southern California and will help the Strikers assess the viability of starting a women's team in MASLW. And the cool part, Philly, you and I were talking about this. The match at Toyota Arena is part of a double header, with the women playing first at 1 p.m. on March 29th, and then the Strikers taking on the St. Louis Ambush at 4 p.m. Of course, tickets available at theempirestrikers.com. That's Strikers with a Y. But Philly, let me ask you, tryouts for the women's team scheduled over the next 2 weekends, Sunday, March 8th, Sunday, March 15th, both at the Shoe Family YMCA in Upland from 2 to 4 p.m. Tryouts are free. You can register on the Strikers website. Philly, you are bullish at worst, I would say, on this, about what an incredible success this MASLW team could be if they get it off the ground.
First off, MASLW has 24 teams in it already. And Detroit City FC of the USL is one of the most successful ones. They don't go any further than, I want to say, Oklahoma, Iowa. That's sort of where the buck stops. Think of Major League Baseball before the Dodgers and the Giants left New York to go to LA. Now we're talking about a westward expansion. With the talent pool that lives and exists in the state of California, you are going to see two of the most competitive teams, period, in this. I've said it time and time again. If we end up doing this and it's done right, this is good. We're going to knock the cover off of this. I am so pumped, and I have a significant other who's in that other room right now who loves women's soccer, who will be more than happy to start calling those games. It's super cool, and I hope I get to be a part of it. I assume I am. That's the verdict, but amazing, and I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, we've got a couple of games, though, to look forward to. First, the one that may be preempting this, depending on when you're listening, Thursday, February 5th, 6:35 p.m. Don't forget, Fox Sports 1270 a.m., PBS station KVCR, MASL Plus, MASL YouTube page, Victory Plus, and a whole bunch of other places, Philly, taking on the San Diego Sockers in Toyota Arena. And then just 2 days later, heading to St. Louis to take on the Ambush. What can we look forward to from these next two matches?
Fireworks. There's been fireworks every time this season that the Strikers and the Sockers have engaged in battle. There's only one game in which it was somewhat of a lopsided result, more than a 4-5 goal deficit. But every game, for the most part, has come down to the wire, even during the years the Empire won that had that 4-win season. It's the 62nd time these two will be meeting. It is the 6th time this season. It could be the second time historically that the Strikers take a series from San Diego. They're up 3-2 on the Sockers. But the Sockers are just as dangerous on the road as they are at home. In fact, they have the best road record of any team in the MASL. The question is, how are they going to look without the likes of Charlie Gonzalez, and Leo de Oliveira is also questionable. Anytime Mighty Leo comes out, he adds problems to the Strikers. And as far as St. Louis is concerned, look, for a short period of time, a cup of coffee, this is the first place team in the MASL. They've hit a bit of a lull, dropping their last two, but make no mistake of it, St. Louis is one of the most dangerous teams. And so Strikers have 6 games left, 3 at home, 3 on the road. The competition doesn't get any easier, and they're hanging by a thread when it comes to the playoff line. But it is very doable. There will be playoffs in Toyota Arena this year.
If you want more of that, he's the voice of the Empire Strikers, Christian Philly Philemon. Thank you so much, my friend.
Cheers, fellas.
All right, so that brings us to Angel City Football Club. And Tim, you and I were talking about this pre-show. The big news on social media that Sydney Leroux herself broke. And I want to read the exact wording. This comeback is for you. I'll see you soon. Look, one day before Angel City's season opener last season, she announced she would step away from soccer for her mental health. 36-year-old Sydney Leroux talked about how she went through a lot in the last year that, quote, should have broken me, but she fought through. What would it mean, Timmy K? I mean, you've been in the stands. We've seen what BMO Stadium looks like when Sydney Leroux checks in to a match. What would it mean to get the U.S. women's national team great back on the field?
It would be incredible. I think that she would fit well into Strauss's system. I think it's something that she could easily do. And this is somebody that in 2024 had 19 starts, 7 goals, and an assist. So the firepower is there to put the ball on the back of the net, which was lacking last year for Angel City, to say the least. But really, it's, again, we've been talking about the leadership on that team, who was going to step up, who's going to be this. And if Sydney Leroux came back, even if she plays half the games, just her presence in the locker room would be mountainous for Angel City to have in that locker room.
And Timmy K, one of the other pieces of news that came out this week is that Angel City released what I personally think, and I think you do too, is a beautiful home kit. It's their primary kit for 2026 called the Flare Kit. Several cool features: centered metallic crest. First time they'll have a center crest. First time it'll be metallic. A Sol Rosa and black colorway, which means it'll be that beautiful black and pink. And the cool part is the sponsors have all agreed to have their names in Sol Rosa, so it all brings the whole jersey together. Little things like Volemos on the back, which is the club's motto, let's fly together. That S in Volemos is now a 5 for the club's 5th year anniversary, which is kind of cool. That Art Deco sunray pattern radiating from the center crest, reflecting the recurring theme of sunshine, which represents both LA's sunsets and the optimism of a new day. But what we're not optimistic about, Timmy K, these things are expensive. I mean, even more so than the men's MLS authentic kits, a blank authentic new Flare kit. A blank authentic is $199 before tax and $231 if you wanted to get Giselle Thompson on the back of your kit. Now, look, if you want to go the replica route, $109 for a blank replica, $141 for a custom, not bad. And if you're a youth, $90 for a blank youth, $122 for a custom, not bad. But Timmy
It's
K,
stiff, Scarf.
$200 and $200. I mean, that's $250 after tax and everything more if you're getting a custom jersey. That's nuts, right?
Yeah, it's stunning. I've got to go back to that. It is a stunning jersey. They really did a nice job on it. The designers, whoever put that thing together, beautiful. I'm telling you, $250 is stiff for a jersey, authentic or otherwise. I get it, but even $141, $150 for the replica to get it named, that's a lot of dough. I mean, you're already spending a gaggle of dough on the tickets, and I get it, and it's LA, and I understand that. You got to pay, you got to pay $20 for a beer. I get that too. But I'm just worried that one's going to kind of fall on its head, and you're not going to see the sales of that thing take off like they should if they would have had the authentic all in at $190. I mean, seriously, it's $40 more than the men's kit. It's not inexpensive, Scarf.
Yeah, and look, I'm going to ruffle some feathers out there in Angel City land, and I apologize, but I went to the Chelsea women's shop and wanted to see how much it would cost for me to get an Alyssa Thompson fully customized authentic kit. It's $134 to get a fully customized authentic Alyssa Thompson kit. I mean, that's a huge difference. Look, you mentioned it, Timmy. It is a beautiful kit. When I saw it, I was like, I got to get me one of those. And then I went to the shop and I said, I got to wait for my next paycheck if I'm going to do that or not, because that is a boatload of money for that kit. But again, a beautiful, beautiful job by the design crew. Timmy, you're absolutely right. It is a stunning kit. Want to mention something real quick in Angel City land. Angel City FC signs forward Rajana Reed as a national team replacement player. She's a University of Central Florida forward who had been training with Orlando Pride this preseason at University of Central Florida. 28 goals and 15 assists in 72 matches. She also competed at Washington State prior to transferring to UCF, and she was signed, very frankly, because Angel City has 8 players called into different national team duty, including Casey Fair, who will be competing in the AFC Asia Cup through March 21st, and Priska Chilufya. She'll be competing in the WAFCON, the Women's AFCON Championship, through April 3rd, So a little bit of news there. Don't forget, Angel City opens up their season Sunday, March 15th, but we will talk more about that next week. Let's get into Orange County Soccer Club. Timmy, first, the season opener is almost upon us. Finally, next week is going to be nuts here on Soccer in 60. If you don't tune in with us, you are so missing a ton of things that we're going to get to talk about. But the season opener at the Champ, Timmy, against the wooden spoon avoiding Las Vegas Lights last season. Look, they had as many points as the wooden spoon winner, but they had that one more win in the standings that kept them from taking home that wooden award. Look, any home opener memories? Timmy K, you've been following Orange County Soccer Club for forever. Any home opener memories that you want to talk about or anything that you look forward to on home opener day?
I think the biggest thing that I really like about the home openers at the Champ is they pack the joint. The energy that they come into, they've got all the season ticket holders are there early. They've gotten their food that they get part of their package. They've gotten there early, and the cheeks are in the seats. Nobody's sitting upstairs looking to get a drink when it's 5 minutes of game time. It's kind of like going to a New York Rangers game at Madison Square Garden. The concourse is empty when that game starts, right? And it's that same way at the Champ, and it's amazing. So there's a couple of seats left. If you can still get in, you can finagle a seat, get one, because it'll be a blast.
Yeah, and this will be the last time it'll be 7,000 at the home opener. They're going to expand that stadium and get more and more packed in there, Timmy. That's going to be a lot of fun. Look, they also announced their theme nights, and with their schedule about to start, we got a lot of fun theme nights, by the way. We've got Local Heroes Night. We've got Nonprofit Night, which, by the way, has nothing to do with how much your tickets will be. They're actually showcasing a bunch of different nonprofit organizations that night. Of course, there's Star Wars Night. There's Global Soccer Night. There's Christmas in August, which is one I love. There's Touch a Truck Night, which people are going to try to win a truck. That's awesome. California Classic Night, Hispanic Heritage Night. And there's like 4 beer fests that are going on down there, which are going to be a lot of fun. Timmy, any one of these particular theme nights that you look most forward to?
The nonprofit night is always a good time. They showcase a lot of Orange County, a lot of Irvine local nonprofits. And it's really interesting because you learn all about these other groups that are in and around the Champ and what they're doing. And to be able to go and see all these nonprofits and then talk to the people that are actually running these nonprofits, it's a really special night. And then what I really like about the beer night is if you're the designated driver, you get free Cokes and you get a ticket for like a half price. So you can come in and get all your buddies and your friends and your girlfriends and everything like that. They'll all have a couple of cocktails, and nobody wants anybody driving home after a drink or two. So you just get, those are the fun nights too, because the energy in the crowd, those always sell out. It's 4 times a year this year, and they're going to sell out every one of those. So get your tickets early.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. One that I always like, Saturday, April 18th against Lexington. It's Gnarly's birthday party, and that's always a fun night out there at the Champ. If you don't know Gnarly, get yourself out to an Orange County Soccer Club match. That's their mascot. And as the supporter of a club who, by the way, perfectly fine that LAFC doesn't have a mascot. We've got Ollie. We've got our Falcon that flies before the match. But Gnarly's awesome. He's so much fun. And the cool part is all those other mascots that come out from in and around, not just Orange County or the Inland Empire, but from up and down Southern California sports. It's pretty cool to get out there for Gnarly's birthday. Again, their home opener Sunday, Sunday, March 7th at the Champ versus Las Vegas Lights, 7 p.m., both their season opener and their home opener. All right, let's get to the best 11. All right, Timmy, now let's get to our favorite segment where we get to go back and forth on the best 11. Let me go through the best 11. If you're not familiar with what they are the best 11 soccer players from across all of the clubs that we cover week in and week out. With this one, though, only a couple of clubs in action. So here we go. Goalkeeper Hugo Lloris. And by the way, all of these LAFC matches are for all LAFC players are for their exploits against Houston, and all of the Galaxy players are for their exploits against Charlotte. And again, these are the 11 best single game performances. Hugo Lloris in goal from LAFC, Eddie Segura and Sergi Palencia from LAFC, and Julian Audet for the Galaxy. Mark Delgado and Stephen Eustáquio for LAFC, Lucas Sanabria, Joseph Paintsel in the midfield for the Galaxy. At forwards, Heung-min Son, no surprise there. Gabriel Peck for the Galaxy, and the captain, Captain Klaus, Joao Klaus, who was fantastic in that one. Timmy K, anybody on the 11 that really stick out to you?
Yeah, Stephen Eustáquio he's the standout for me. He gets that goal. He's lighting the place up on fire. He's only been playing a couple of games. He looked great in this game for LAFC. That one really stood out for me. And I said it earlier when we were talking LAFC, the Hugo Lloris save off that header that could have made that game far different than the final scoreline there, Scarf.
Yeah, and our producer Gunnar wants us to poke the Galaxy listeners out there to tell them that LAFC won this version of El Tráfico 6-5, as they've got 6 players on the best 11 to Galaxy's 5. But Galaxy, they do have the captain in Joao Klaus, so we'll see.
Yeah, so we're about even.
I know, right? Actually 2 players I want to mention on the back line. The first, Sergi Palencia, finally getting some love. Again, I feel like he should be an all-star this next season, although, by the way, Nkosi Tafari playing as well as anybody else on the back line for LAFC. And I got to mention my man Eddie Segura one more time, because anytime we get to mention Everyday Eddie out there is a good one. It's worth noting that this match against Houston was Eddie Segura's 178th match in a black and gold kit. Carlos Vela holds LAFC's record with 179. So the next time that Eddie Segura suits up, he's already passed Carlos in minutes played in an LAFC shirt. He will then pass Carlos in games played. In 2 matches, he'll match him. And when he takes the pitch, against FC Dallas. So look, what we do here on the Best 11 is going to get very, very complicated next week. Orange County Soccer Club kicking off their season. We've got matches for the Empire Strykers. And then, oh, by the way, after March 15th, we'll have to contend with all 5 Southern California clubs in action. Timmy, let me ask you one question. If Sidney Leroux comes back, how many matches until we see Sidney Leroux here on the Best 11?
The over and under on that is 4.
Oh, I like it. Okay.
Yeah, I think,
right,
and I'll take the under.
All right, so you heard Timmy K say it here. Under 4 matches before we see Sidney Leroux on here. I'm going to say whatever happens in their first match coming up, it's going to be Giselle Thompson making this Best 11 as well. Yep. Can't wait to see who makes it this next week for Orange County Soccer Club in their maiden
My vote's
voyage.
for Nico Ben Alcazar before we even get it.
Yeah, look, absolutely right. And let's not forget, everybody, it's very possible we could be preempting the Empire Strikers match. If you are listening to us on a particular set of circumstances, don't forget MASL Plus, MASL YouTube page, Victory Plus, PBS KVCR, and Fox Sports 1270 AM. This has been Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System. We will see you next week.